It's a rare and welcome night that I don't dream of the man who wouldn't die. For over 30 years, he's been haunting my sleep. And for 30 years, I've always wondered to myself if he was out there somewhere, looking for me. 2 months ago, I got my answer, at least partly. I was in my cell, staring at the same cracked walls I've been seeing since 1979, when a guard came by my cell with an envelope in his hand. "Mail." "For me?" I asked. "Yes, for you. Mark Di Rosario." "Oh. The last time I got a letter was 1984, from my cousin, telling me that Mom had died." I got up and he handed it through the bars. Who the hell would write me, I thought, as I sat down onto my little cot and ripped it open. Inside was a postcard. On the back was "Wish you were here," in white over a typical Florida sunset. The bright light radiated out over the water. "Mark, it's been forever," it opened. "How's Sing Sing?" "Nothing's much changed with me. Well, I have my head back on my shoulders and all, but that's a given. Did you know Tony D died last year? I saw him down in hell. He's waiting for you. Love, S." I woke up in the prison infirmary. They found me on the floor, a minor stroke. They airlifted me out of here and into the Northern New York Medical Center and Coates University. I'm weak and exhausted, but I'm alive. I almost wish I hadn't, though. Dead would be better. God help me. He's alive. I've whacked a lot of guys in my day, somewhere in the hundreds. I can't remember the exact number. I had them all recorded in about a dozen notebooks, but the DA's office confiscated them when I was arrested. But not him. He's the only one to ever get away. His name was Sam Falwell. He was a mob groupie, the kind of guy who hangs around and pretends he's just another good fella, when in actuality he's really nothing, not even an associate. He was popular with some of the younger guys. Whenever he was in the suit, the mob-owned bar in Queens, he'd sit in a back booth with a bunch of dudes laughing and drinking. Vinny, the capo in those days, hated the motherfucker. He said that he was plotting against the family, trying to recruit guys to help him. Vinny didn't much like anybody, so I just ignored it. Like I said, Sam was a wannabe whatever. Leave the guy alone, let him pretend. The way he looked didn't have much going for him. Tall and lanky, a little on the youngish side. He would have been anywhere from 20 to 40. He wore cheap clothes and looked just a little slow. That's it. Until I actually got a good look at him one night when he was actually going to the pisser. His eyes were livid and evil. His grin froze my blood. His face was craggy and perpetually masked by shadows. He was creepy. I mean, real fucking creepy. The first time I ever talked to the guy was in late September of 75, I think. It might have been October. He came in about 10 on a Saturday night, and his usual gang wasn't around. He stood awkwardly in the middle of the bar for a moment before he sat down next to me at the bar. "How you doing?" he asked. I gave him a sidelong glance. All right. "Good. I'm Sam. Pleased to meet you." "Mark," I said, and we shook. His hand was hard and cold. He flashed a toothy smile and bought me a drink. "So talk to me. What's going on? How's business?" "What business?" I asked innocently. "Whacking people." I nearly choked on my vodka. "Hey, buddy, look, I don't know what you're thinking, but..." Sure, he smiled again. "You're a travel agent." That was what I said when pushed. It seemed like a clever little joke. Travel agent, arranging trips to the afterlife. Yeah, I am." "And maybe you can send me on a trip one day." I shrugged. "Maybe. Where you want to go?" He took a long sip of his drink. "Ever heard of the Wastelands?" "Nah. Where is it? Utah?" He chuckled. "Oh, no. It's in another dimension." "Sure." He laughed. "You like magic?" "No, I don't." I was starting to get annoyed. The last thing I wanted was some wannabe busting out parlor tricks. "Why not, Mark? Magic is great." I took a long, slow drink, thinking of what to say. I could tell him to fuck off. Yeah, if you're 8. Sam shook his head. I'm talking about the real stuff. Real stuff, huh? He nodded. Yeah, like this. He reached over and passed a hand over my glass. I yanked it back, sloshing some of it onto the counter. What the fuck are you doing? Take a sip. I looked down at the glass, checked for any powdery residue. Bastard probably slipped me a roofie so I'd pass out, leaving my asshole unguarded. I didn't see anything. The fuck did you put in my drink? Nothing, Sam said. Take a sip. Never taking my eyes off him, I took a little nip. It tasted like Dr. Pepper, Sam said. I looked back down at the vodka, mystified. It was still clear. I took a large swallow. If that shit wasn't Dr. Pepper, then I'm the Queen of England. That's a simple trick that most anyone can learn, Sam said. He reached into his coat and pulled out a $50 bill. Check this out. He tore it down the middle, slapped each half onto the smooth countertop. See? I nodded. Yeah. Okay, good. Watch this. He covered it with his hand and said, Abracadabra. He pulled his hand away. $200 bills sat crisply before him. Cool, I said. I don't know how he made my liquor taste like fucking soda, but I knew exactly how he did that one. Sam had a few tricks up his sleeves, if you know what I mean. Isn't it? I can teach you to do shit like that if you want. I've been showing some of the other guys. You gotta keep quiet about it, though. I nodded. Yeah, maybe. Okay, good. You have a good night. Early to bed, early to rise. Hey, give Carl my love. He went to get up, but I snatched the motherfucker by the back of his coat and dragged him back down. The fuck did you just say? He grinned. I just told you to tell your boyfriend I said hi. I leaned closer until we were nose to nose. Listen, you piece of shit. If you think you're gonna blackmail me, why would I do that? He asked. I don't have anything against the guy. Fuck you, I spat. How do you know about him? No one knew about Carl. We met at a club on the Lower East Side in 73 and saw each other on the weekends. We were discreet, very discreet. Magic, Sam said, and yanked away. See you Friday? I didn't reply. I wanted to kill the son of a bitch right there. Yeah, I said. Sam smiled and left. Vinny came over. You all right? He asked, settling his titanic bulk onto the stool next to me. I'm gonna whack his ass, I muttered, downing my drink. I forgot it was Dr. Pepper. What'd he do? I shook my head and licked my lips. I'm gonna fucking kill him. Vinny looked around, and then, satisfied he wouldn't be heard, leaned conspiratorially in. Look, I'm not supposed to say anything, but I talked to Mama over the weekend. Mama was the head of the family, and had been since her husband, Vincent, the guy who started the family, died back in the 60s. One of the guys who hangs out with Sam says he's planning to overthrow Mama, take the family over, just like I said. Yeah? Yeah. So there's some serious shit coming down in the next few days. Sam's buddies? Done. They're getting whacked. If you want Sam, take him, but take him quick. I nodded. All right. 2 days later, it was Friday, and I was ready. I drove over to the Suit in the golden September sunshine and parked at the curb under a red and gold-covered tree. Inside it was dim and dank, like the den of a vampire bear. At the end of the bar, Willie Carlone sat nursing a gin. He was a small, thin old guy with a bushy unibrow and faded blue eyes. His clothes were always baggy and wrinkled, like his flesh, and his teeth were yellow and jagged. He'd been with the family since the beginning, when Vincent LaRaza started making illegal alcohol in the 20s. I sat next to him, ordered a rum and coke. Hey, Willie, what's going on? Oh, nothing, he replied. Just having breakfast. He cackled like a witch. Hey, do you have Sam's number? Willie was one of Sam's pupils. The only one over 25 or so. Yeah, you want it? Yeah, that'd be great. He whipped out a pencil stub and jotted it down on a cocktail napkin. Joining the gang? You bet. I drove back over to my apartment and changed into a pair of jeans and a flannel lumberjack shirt. I looked like a fucking farmer. Good. 2 hours later, I was in Jersey. I pulled my car into the parking lot of a hardware wholesaler and killed the engine. Inside, I wandered the aisles until I found the quicklime. Bought a huge bag of the shit, paid in cash. Back at home, it was 3 o'clock. I called the number Willie gave me. Sam picked up on the first ring. Mark, what's up? My heart sputtered. How did he know it was me? And then it hit me. Willie told him. Old fucker. If he was still alive at the end of the day, I'd see if I could whack his ass too. Hey, Sam, I said. I was wondering if you could come over here later, before we all meet at the suite. Sure, what's up? I want you to, give you a crash course? He supplied. Yeah, sure thing. 6 all right? Actually, it was the exact time I had in mind. Weird. Fucking weird. Yeah. All right, I'll see you then. I picked up the phone and sat there for a moment, my heart beating faster than it should have. Magic is bullshit. Isn't it? At 5:30, someone knocked at the door, startling me. I was in the kitchen, baking a batch of special cookies for Dickhead, and nearly dropped my spatula. Already? I went into the living room, opened up the door as he knocked again. It was Tony DeSimone, one of the guys in the crew. He was a tall, lanky guy, and today he was wearing a pair of plaid pants and a blazer. Tony, I greeted. You look like shit. He laughed. Yeah, I threw this on as a disguise. Why? Vinny told me that you were going to ice that Sam guy. Thought I'd help. Tony liked killing people. Simple as that. I don't really need any help, I started. But Tony already shouldered past me. Yeah, sure you do. Sam's a big guy. How you going to do it? Poison. Tony looked at me like I was crazy. Poison? What are you, a woman? Fuck you. Tony laughed. Take it easy, he said. I'm just playing with you. I nodded. I guess I was a little too sensitive. Now how you going to do it? Cookies. Tony shrugged. That's a good plan. They were done by 6. I had just gotten them onto a plate and sat them on the kitchen table when another knock came at the door. Got it, Tony called. I imagined Sam saying something about my secret as soon as he saw Tony. Your gate too? And my heart leapt. Before I could stop him, he had the door open and Sam was inside, laughing and joking. Mark, how's it going? All right. Smells good in here. I made cookies, I said, leading Sam and Tony into the kitchen. They're good, Tony said. I ate about 50 of them. Sam chuckled. I'm famished. Give me some. He sat down like a man on a 5-course dinner. Got milk? Sure, I said, getting out of the fridge and pouring a tall, frosty glass. I sat it down in front of him, just as he was crunching into his third cookie. I took Tony aside and told him to get the quicklime from the trunk of my car. He nodded and rushed off. So Sam, I said, sitting down across from him, tell me more about magic. Sure, he said. Just let me finish this. 5 minutes later, the cookies were almost gone. I'd never used poison before, so I had no idea how long it was supposed to work before it kicked in. Hopefully not that long. My compliments to the chef, he said, as he ate the last one, and then downed his milk. He pulled out a silver case and took a cigarette out. We'll get started once I smoke this. I nodded. Behind Sam, Tony was standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the hall. He looked impatient. Hey, Sam, I'll be right back. Sure. In the hall, Tony sighed. How long is this shit supposed to take? I shrugged, lost. Not this long. I put enough in there to kill 6 men. He should be convulsing on the floor right now. Tony nodded. I got this then. No, it's personal. Fuck you, Tony said. You had your chance. He took a slapjack out of his coat and stormed into the kitchen. Before I knew it, Sam was on the ground convulsing. Die, motherfucker! Tony screamed and whacked him over the head again and again and again. Finally, Sam was still. A pool of blood spreading across the linoleum. Tony bent down and felt for a pulse. He looked up at me. Now that is how you do it. I need a cigarette, I said. Here. Tony tossed me Sam's case. Give me one. We sat in the hall talking and smoking for a while. For guys like me and Tony, killing was like sex. We sucked down 2 cigarettes each. Well, we'll wait till dark and take him out, I said. Got a spot picked out? Yeah, I said. It was a plot of land Mama Lorazzo's son, Mario, owned in Jersey. Good. Now, I got a flash out of the corner of my eye. I turned and met with Sam's bloody face. Move, bitch, he grunted, shoving me out of the way. Felt like a train hit me. I went down and laid limp like a slug. Get him! I screamed breathlessly. Tony shook himself awake and darted after Sam, who was at the door. Tony put him in a headlock and wrestled him to the ground. Sam yelled and shouted as Tony rained punches down on his head like a bull. Sam bucked Tony off and jumped to his feet. Catch me if you can, motherfuckers! He yelled, and ran up the stairs laughing. Motherfucker! Tony roared and leapt up. He bounded up the stairs 2 at a time. A second later, there was a crash. The whole house shook. Aching all over, lungs tight and weak, I stood with the help of the end table and shambled up the stairs. Sam was lying in the hallway. Tony was on top of him, dragging a straight razor across his throat. There was blood everywhere. On Sam, on Tony, soaking into the carpets, spattering the walls. I thought you said he was dead, I yelled, collapsing on the top step. Yeah, he was, Tony grunted. He stopped and the knife fell on the floor. He sat there panting and looking at me, his face covered in sweat. He was fucking dead. Apparently not, I retorted. Look, I know how to read a fucking pulse, Tony shouted, getting back to his feet. I'm telling you, he was dead. Whatever. He's dead now. You almost cut his fucking head off. Tony looked down at the serpentine corpse and spat on it. He got that right. We dragged his body back downstairs, left it in the kitchen. As we mopped up the blood, I thought again of Sam's magic. I knew Tony was right. Sam was dead. He was fucking dead. And he came back. No, that's crazy, I told myself. Tony knocked Sam out and misread the pulse, that's it. But the arsenic, that should have kept him down. All right, Tony said, startling me. I was on my knees in the hall trying to get the blood out of my carpet. I'd have to replace it. Let's get him out of here. I nodded and swallowed. Okay. We went back in the kitchen and I swear to God, Sam was standing at the fridge, pouring himself a fucking glass of milk. He turned to us and smiled, I think. His face was so caked with dried blood, I couldn't tell. Just getting a drink for the road, he assured us. Tony and I, we just stood there, frozen in place. Neither one of us could have moved, even if Satan himself was behind us. I felt like a man watching a zombie stumble out of a dark crypt in an old Roger Corman movie. It was so surreal. I guess, so totally unbelievable and mind-shatteringly insane. There was no way he was alive and well enough to be chugging milk. Finally, after what felt like 1,000 years, Tony pulled his gun out of his coat and fired without even aiming. The first bullet struck Sam in the gut, ripping it open in an exaggerated shower of blood and intestines. He stumbled back, dropping his glass, and the second one caught him above the left eye, obliterating his skull. He spun, seemed to tiptoe, and then fell over. Tony stood, heaving like a man who just run a marathon, sucking in air and blowing it out in great gusts. The report hung heavy in the air, seemed to linger. Oh shit, it hit me. I had neighbors. There was no way in hell they didn't hear the roar of the gun. In the confined kitchen, it was as loud as artillery fire. Tony was looking at me. That wasn't such a good idea, was it? Fuck no, it wasn't, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. At least it took him down, Tony said, walking over to Sam's body. What are you doing? I asked. The cops are coming. Tony didn't acknowledge me. Wary and tense, he regarded the body. He toed his head once, twice, 3 times, then bent down and with his razor, severed the bastard's head and gouged his eyes out. When he was done, We looked at each other. I took a deep breath. Tony, I almost pleaded. The cops. Okay. Take care of the blood. I'll deal with Sammy. As it turned out, no one called the cops after all. I had a reputation in the neighborhood, so people were more likely to mind their business when it came to me than anyone else. Thank God. It made sense afterward, but in the heat of the moment, I knew some noisy fuck had picked up their phone. We waited for an hour. By then, we're out of the woods. Cops in the city were overworked, but not that damn much. All right, let's get out of here, Tony said. He wrapped Sam in a tarp from my garage. Outside, it was dark and muggy. I moved my car from under the orange glare of the arc sodium street lamp, and then ran back inside to help Tony carry the body down the car. We opened the trunk and threw him in. Hey, what are you guys doing? Someone yelled from their front porch. None of your fucking business, Tony yelled, slamming the trunk. Hey, fuck you, buddy. How about I call the cops? Yeah, great. There goes my grand reputation. Yeah? Tony shouted back. How about I kill your whole fucking family? I tried to hold him back, but he pulled away. Yeah, you try it, asshole. Tony broke into a run. The guy on the porch, a form in the darkness, screamed in terror. 5 minutes later, Tony came back, his hands covered in blood. Piece of shit. Jesus, Tony. You're gonna get us pinched. No one talks to me like that. Let's go. Did you kill him? No. No, I didn't kill him. Probably broke his fucking nose. But he had it coming. Taught him some fucking manners. I sighed. You can't run around doing shit like that. One day, you're gonna meet someone who doesn't play fair. Yeah, Tony asked as we slipped into the car. Then we're gonna wind up buried out in Jersey. He pulled away from the curb and set a course for Jersey. From there on, the ride was quiet and hot, and the only sound the humming of the tires. We were both thinking of Falwell. We stopped only once at the truck stop off the interstate, grabbed a few burgers, some gas cans, which I filled as Tony wolfed down his food. The smell of it made me sick. I had to fight to keep from puking. I'm not hungry, I said. You can have mine. We reached the plot, a grassy field in the woods, about 2 hours after we left. We parked at the bottom of a gentle hill and kicked the engine. What if he's alive again? I asked fearfully. He won't be. He doesn't even have a head. Last time he had a slit throat and a gut full of arsenic, but that didn't stop him. Tony didn't reply. We got out and we went around to the trunk. Tony opened it as I stood back with my gun in my jittering hands. Thank God. Sam was still. See? I told you. As if on cue, the body started moving. First a twitch, then a shuddering spasm. The fuck? Tony yelled, jumped back. I stood there, mesmerized with horror. This can't be happening, I told myself. Even as dark laughter started to rise from the trunk. This can't be fucking happening. Jesus Christ, man. For the first time all night, Tony sounded scared, or at least as close to scared as a guy like him can come. Are we there yet? Tony asked, his voice muffled. Those words, even more than the laughter, shattered my soul. I think I lost my mind a little bit. Behind me, Tony was shouting. I didn't hear what he was saying. I was too terrified to move, to hear, to even see. Get out of the way! I heard that loud and clear, only because at that precise instant, Tony shoved me aside and knocked me to the ground. The impact forced the breath out of my lungs and my mind back to this rightful place. I don't know how many rounds Tony fired, but it was a lot. The reports seemed to last a lifetime, one after the other, echoing in the night. Silence when it came was deafening. Tony stood by the trunk, heaving like a man who just ran a marathon. When he finally spoke, his voice was breathless and strained. Where's the nearest town? The question was lost on me. What? Nearest town. Where's the last town we passed? I racked my brain. 5 miles, I think. Good, he said, tucking his gun into his belt. He went around the car, opened one of the back doors, and took out the gas can. He upended it over the trunk, spidered Sam's body. We're leaving this car. I got to my feet. I didn't care at that point. Done. Tony struck a match and dropped it into the trunk. Frames whumped into life, crackling and swaying in the cold night breeze. The smell of gas and burning clothes filled the air. The heat was incredible. You got your gun? I nodded. Yeah. On our way out, hit the tank. Okay. We waited until the fire had died down a little before we left. It took me 3 shots before I hit the tank. The car exploded. We walked 3 miles to a service station along the highway, called a ride, and never spoke of it again. I did my best not to think about it. Did a pretty good job, too, when I was awake. Every night, though, all those repressed fears and what the hell ever else came to the surface and tortured me. I got so bad around 78 that I tried to kill myself. I was always tired, always nervous, always struggling to keep from breaking down. It wasn't worth it. I took an overdose of sleeping pills, but Carl found me, took me to the hospital. I wish he'd never done that. I got better for a few years, but then it all started over again. A prison psychiatrist I talked to back in '88 told me I needed to open up about the whole thing, that I had to rob it of its power by not trying to repress it. Whatever. It's bullshit. Didn't help. Nothing has. There's no escape. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video. Or listening to tonight's podcast on the podcast, if you're listening to that there at Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you could happen to listen to podcasts. I wanted to remind you guys also that my wife sells loose leaf tea at etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. She has different teas, including Creepypasta teas, and you can get a Mr. Creepypasta tea. If you ask for a dabbing sticker, she also has those. And of course, I wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who checks out patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta and supports the show, keeps the light on, gives me treats for my now 2 cats, both Hylas and Hercules. Both of them are a handful. And especially a big thank you to Saha, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Mazikeen, Ken Lando Higuchi, Chompski, Nico kaeo, Tristain Pelton, Stephen VanHuss, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, G. Weevil 3, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Hades' Nephew, Carter Barenfanger, Dr. Strawberry, Jordan Wayne Deckard, Bradney Leipe, The Government Monitoring System, Ann Charron, rumblefox, AcidSystem, Mike Bullock, Raphael Rodriguez, Dan Sweet, Mad Marshtomp, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Sean Mills, Brian Arce, Cryptic Nightmares, Shadow Morningstar, Somber Puppet, Brianna Wright, Someone You Love, Said the King 56, Bad Honey, S-Man, Kiri the Sloth, Patrick Schoolmeister, Thomas Burgett, Barbara Maceo, Bobby Carmen, Liam Newman, The Homeless Bird 93, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Last Blade Song, Eliminator 86, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, and Corey X Kenshin. A big thank you to all of you guys and everybody down there in the description. I really can't thank you guys enough for supporting the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody who listens. Sweet dreams.